Hello, dear viewers. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Lumen Conversation Unscripted. My name is Macy, and I'm joined in the studio with me. I'm with Brother Felix, Haule, Grace, and Sydney. Brother Grace and Sydney, welcome.
Thank you.
Asante sana. Brother, karibu sana.
Karibu sana.
I like this one.
Wow.
It's powerful.
Very, very.
How have you been from the time we met here?
We've been okay. We're surviving. God has been with us. We don't know how we've been here. We
are pushing on in the Lenten season, struggling with fasting, not managing at all, but at least the few homilies I've heard, the preachers of the day have said there's still a little bit of time. You can still do it.
Sure.
That was some good encouragement. Grace, looking at me.
Yes, I need to pay attention.
What have you been
look at
up
someone to? When they are talking, so that you're able to get what they're saying, and to also show them that you're listening. You want me to be looking this side.
You are fulfilling a fixture.
Exactly.
We are told so she has to do. Exactly. Grace. Miss. Your opening was not too punchy. What is the problem? Hungry?
No, I'm not hungry, but then when you're fasting, you need to be a bit humble. I can't be there, welcome. People will be like, no, this one has taken something. So, no, I know I drink dede.
You do, right?
I don't eat, but I drink.
Oh. Yes.
But you eat okra?
Really, time. I'm a fan of Lumen. Okra.
Lumen is one they prepare with the groundnuts.
It depends. No, it depends. It has got two types.
Okay.
Oh.
There's one where you just it depends how you want to prepare it. But I think the most common one is the one they prepare with groundnuts.
Okay. Dry. It's dry.
To the western part of Zambia, the one with groundnuts don't even. They know that one. We just put tomatoes and onions and water. That one, that lulas. That one, that one is sour. The one that you like.
Nice flavor.
Yeah, even me. That's one I like. That's the one I like.
That is also Lumanda.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The one they call what? Sindambi.
No, there's Sindambi and Mundambi.
Sindambi is bitter.
There's Munda in Silozi. There's Mundambi and Sindambi.
They're two different.
Yes, those are two different things.
Oh.
But the one they call Sindambi is that one that is very sourly that you cannot eat alone unless you put. They like putting it in dry fish in Western Province. But the one where they say Mundambi, it's the same one. The one they say Lumanda. Yes. So what kills the bitterness? It's the groundnuts, because if you cook it without groundnuts, it's actually a bit sour. It's less sour when you put groundnuts. Yeah, I think it's not even sour when you put groundnuts.
Better that way.
I mean, I want
She's
one
better.
I'm dripping like
the bitter one.
Yes, that one is nice. Bamboya, when you come back, you need to eat that when you got malaria, so that you can stimulate your taste buds.
Okay.
So, brother, of course, we've started talking about dishes, but to tell you the truth, one of my little sisters has advised me not to be eating okra, especially the one they cook with. Is it soda?
Yeah. Okra they cook soda. No, there's the one where you fry. Oh, but we're talking of cooking. Oh, you eat fried ones.
That's the one I've started enjoying actually. From the day, look at how messages can change someone's mind. From the day, you know what she told me? She was doing nursing.
Okay.
She told me, this okra. Even if you eat okra, which is cooked with soda, then your beef, whatever, the balanced meal is killed. Because okra, the soda will kill all the vitamins in other dishes, you see. So I should be eating fried okra. And from that day, I was like, why should I be eating things that are killing the other nutrients?
Which is
so I don't know whether it's true or what. But anyway, the subject is food. Even in the Bible, we read there is a number of episodes where people are eating food here. But of particular interest, Brother Ole, 1 Corinthians 11 and then 17 to 34. What do we find there? Maybe we can begin our discussion from there.
Okay. So what we find in 1 Corinthians is an episode ya food. Since tina food kudala pano. You realize that St. Paul writes to the Corinthians. This community is very vibrant. You know, it's a community that is understood and referred to as a cosmopolitan city where there's commerce, there's trade, like it's flourishing, and it's within borderlines. So the kind of life here and the economy kaliko peak village.
Okay.
So when this community encounters Christianity, in Christianity they find a tradition of the Eucharist, the Last Supper, which is a meal truly like the many meals in the scriptures. But this is a key meal that is characteristic of we as Christians, because in every Eucharistic celebration or prayer session that we have, the Mass, what we celebrate is the Lord's Supper. Of particular interest to our brothers and sisters, you know, the tradition at this time was that aliyense pobwera ku Mass, watengako hosti, wacha even bread, watengako na wine.
Kuspangira from home.
Kind of events are common in these areas. So wabwera na, of course, unleavened bread where there's no yeast. And then now in Chabeka yenzeche normal. Not this time there are a lot of varieties, makabanyo, sabanyo, those things. So now with these our brothers and sisters, you realize that instead of just sticking to the tradition of where they meet, there is bread, there is wine, they offer to the priest, and the priest, you know, consecrates in the tradition. This is my body, this is my blood given to you, and all of those formulas. It started to happen that, you know, it loses that sense of symbolicness. You know, as people come and karakajat, they don't feel unquote.
Bamba kumwa 5 liters.
Imagine, when the brother nama 20 liters ya wine, instead we share, we break the bread and drink from the cup. Then I'm going to drink from the jar and the cup ya kwa watu. So this is the episode.
Before you continue, it's like when you say people, once aliens where they used to come with their own thing.
Everyone coming to this celebration, to this prayer session, it was an open tradition. That's why it characterizes what we have as offertory in the church, where we present our gifts, that is, bread and wine. What we have to demapeleka kasibori mkangono tumakruetse, but in those days mpeleka chenga ni amene ikulu amene mapeleka so chabe, because it was a community of believers and they shared as a meal and celebrated in that sense.
So when you take it, for example, I've taken this, put here, then the priest consecrates. Then 14 in the size what la che yanga mine janindi onyamuga che mine jayanga na ndiye zinabwira na bandari sira.
That's the challenge now that arises in the community. There is this shift from what should be happening to what people want to happen. So I want to in an abranaka 5 liters. Rosinza vutikira mo muri bena.
Mudika 500 meals.
Mawana all basta consecrate kuja. We are breaking the bread. But in a contribution yanga ni, you know, in that kind of essence. And this highly favored the woe to do. Because if you peruse through the scripture that has been cited, the woe to do is that you know, when you begin to think in those lines, no, me I contributed so much. I also have to, you know, like a big share of it and everything. Now, forgetting the Eucharist is a meal, yes, but a symbolic one, where we receive Jesus Christ who's present in the body and the blood, in the unleavened bread of the host and the wine. That kind of expression.
What is coming into my mind is that with that scenario, obviously there was a lot of worshipping other people than God. So can pass it. So that you are grace very well to do or a mess up. Then he said he has to be very good to a mess. Could it be rockback or balakwa? kaibaza ntana tikaenda kulast
Last up. For sure. Of course, that becomes an irregularity because when they met as Christians, they became brothers and sisters. To a level where there's this sharing, even if someone has made a mistake or an offense, they ought to be corrected. But if the situation was tilting in that way, for sure favors now, we're human beings, and when we become a community where the too many favors, certainly for sure our voice dies. We sort of become sleeping Christians. We can't challenge the situation. So no wonder St. Paul at this point comes in and draws them back to the tradition that they received. So he explains to them what we have received is what we shared with you. That during the Last Supper, the moment before Christ was taken up to death, they gathered, they broke the bread, they drank from the cup. And then this is the celebration that we've been left in memory of Christ, to restore them to the tradition, not what they are now going into doing. It's sort of crazy, A lot of things happen when we are eating, if we can digress a bit, because as people, eating has very, very key characteristics and expressions. Others will tell you, pakujani pakushika, kulibe ukamba. Others will tell you, this meal that we are eating, it's a love meal, it's a celebration. Kumangala na bajama, ni vipiko, tipeleka, kuchiranga mulilo, shanshan, all those things. So a meal, even in our ordinary sense, has got a meaning that it is driving forth. No, this meal that we are having, it's a reconciliation meal. No, it is a come together. It's only now in today's world where people tell you it's a come together, but vivendo etstika vendo si anako na veva nakam. Oh, tendache kubrai. But no matter the circumstances, we have people gathering and we have people eating something that is a meal, and then they attach meaning to it. So this is the context HTK. Because that men are going beyond manje. Afuna che ndizoda manje. Bafunda chapi.
The church is coming from far.
Very far.
So there have been some reforms time and again. I'm happy to know, to experience that, or to share that, these types of meals that you've talked about. I experienced one meal which was a moving event in my life, but I will not share the details. I'll just name what kind of a meal it was.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a reconciliation meal.
Okay.
Yeah. Some elderly person just called, Papa, I want you people to come this day and for a reconciliation meal. It was nice.
Okay.
People that you've always not eaten with, and then they call you. It was nice.
Okay.
And I saw things moving in life after that.
There was progress.
Yes, there was progress.
So it's true that food does indeed bring people together.
It does, but what is common, I think, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of such. Me, it was first time, and it has only happened once.
Even me, it's my first time hearing of that.
Yeah. It happened in my life. Yeah.
And organize one, so that we also
But
reconcile.
True, but it calls for more than just naming a reconciliation meal. People have to be ready for what they call give and take. For example, people have to be ready to change, to embrace the new thing rather than remain in the past, because many times that we people are pretenders. A meal can be called, then you are not ready to reconcile. So the face can tell. But this one I'm talking about, the way it was done, even it was so good that and you think, okay. So and the person who called us first narrated the background and why he felt that this was important. And actually, there's nothing that makes someone happy than a person to acknowledge. Many times that we blame people, even for our own faults. But when someone comes up and, to apologize is not an easy thing. Some people apologizing, I'm sorry, fast, to just end things. But mumtima vasal. But where someone calls you first, sits you down and tells you, look, I'm an elderly person, but I think here, there, and there, and there, I made a mistake. And from there on, we have to move on. And we cannot just move on like this. The practical sign is we have to prepare a meal. We come together, and I'll do it. And you guys are asking you to come.
Okay.
Yeah, and we went, you see, with hearts open, because someone has talked to us, counseled us, and told us, please don't shun this. I'm serious about it. I want us to move forward. You see, but in life, I've seen people are pretenders. Even when they are wrong, they will still say brother is the one who is wrong. And yet it is them. And then they will speak good. You see, as if they are the perfect people. And they are the wrong people. They are the ones bringing the wrong.
Just like what you think, what you said is very frustrating. When you are caught, I think it's better because sometimes we blame people because of the things that happen. The person can grudge, but the moment I see Messi sipping coffee, it will click to me to say Messi Aseka. But she also has some, we meet different things and we record certain events that will just bring joy to ourselves and you just smile, But because in Messi we have that grudge. Come on, Messi Aseka. So Anita Nyama sitting that's how it is sometimes.
People are better off going to the kitchen party. When I'm wearing case, nakuja. Such meals, And yet, but Ben a piece of
dress came never para kaja. When it's on a paper,
literally do even think of such things as reconciliation meals. Yeah, but I think, like Brother Ole said, we are disgracing a bit. Is it the word?
Digressing. Like that.
Yeah, I wanted it to come from you. Are pronouncing it very well.
Okay.
So maybe before Father, I always call you Father. I'm definitely
Soon
going
to
attend your ordination because I keep calling you Father.
So that you'll be waiting.
So that I official Father. So what you said, in as much as before I go to the reconciliation, the last part that you in Grace said, whenever you see someone passing, like always have in mind to say that one that can dress and stuff. So the thing here is we are people, so we should stop saying people because we here are the same people that say can dress. One. So on the reconciliation meal, I think in as much as you would want to go with a clean mind or an open mind, it takes a mature person to attend that and also to organize that. So even if you go with a clean mind, but as long as you are very, very childish, like you're just going to find fun in whatever is going to happen there, what will be happening there, you would feel it's okay. But once you move out from there, like everything that was happening there would be like maybe fun. Anyway, but so I think it also requires takes a mature person to attend the reconciliation meal and also to organize it. So as long as you're not much, even if we're in the, but I'm glad the way you were talking with so much maturity. Yes, you are really like serious. I'm sure even the person who organized that would obviously be proud that it happened like that and that you picked up something from whatever was happening.
Yeah, that's why I said when I started that it takes a lot. There is something that has to be done before.
Yeah.
That is very important.
And maturity is not easy.
Doesn't come easy.
No, it doesn't. Because it doesn't.
Okay, so now in the eating that we are talking about, brother, I think there was somewhat, what can we call them? Some abnormalities, if that is the right terminology of what was happening, disorders, eating disorders, something like that. Is there something you can tell us about eating disorders?
Okay.
Coming from what the passage that you've just shared with us.
Okay, so from the scripture that we have that we're deliberating today, you realize that something abnormal is happening, because they're invited to a meal. They know the do's and don'ts of this meal, the etiquette, how to go about this meal and everything. But others choose to eat wakuta kuti they cannot partake in the meal, but vaendako. Others choose to get drunk before even going to that Eucharistic celebration. Others even still want momene mujam celebration. Bayake chabe mas momene. So you realize that maybe a category that we can bring out firstly is that what's happening is an abuse. This is not how things should be. And maybe because of this abuse, we have a category of people, even in our day-to-day life, that we don't talk about and don't address. We take it normal, can be it as one. You know, there is this category of people that are afraid to gain. You know, when we eat, our bodies have to respond to the food. But there's a category of people that observe a restricted kind of diet. Bayo pakuti me I only be eating my lettuce, my veggies. I don't want people to stop admiring me. You know, there's this category of this category of people, we need to help them and address each other, because like this to my abuse that we are hearing. It's a situation of life many people don't talk about. In fact, today's society perceives these as virtuous people. Baba madachim timing, biasing, but it's a disorder. Because in the normal way of life, and this thing, because stigma have come up of you know, it's dangerous where a category of people, but imagine mungala mnyumba, and with this economy are budgeting for people as a family. But koche muntu ayanka chine nifuna lettuce nilipa diet nishani and panga ka 6-pack muntu anga. So with this kind of understanding now, and people go category first, they begin to have an extraordinary fear. And if there's no helping each other, you are in mass, analandira maningi. I'm sure you've seen such I don't say irregularity, but my behavior, especially Muruba Katolika. We have been told to say when we go for this meal, we eat. It's a celebration. We are remembering Jesus Christ. But when I'm going to tell you, why tamule akaidi twalipoka na manyulo ndetu shako could be vaso polandira vichoka kuti with such kind of a background bayo pamentali kuti kadamaningi kapina ningaine, because they have this experience of food that's not Eucharist, and for them to relate to that bakamba kadamaningi, you know, you might get out of shape and all of that, and they would take this mentality to the Eucharist. Since also the Eucharist is food beyond food, kadamaningi ungangale njomba spiritually. Spiritually, this kind of thinking. So it is also coming out because it's a reality of life. It sounds as if this was only happening in their time, but today we can relate to it like that, because it comes out and it's in the public, but we put it as a virtue. Why they are going and waoneke fit. And you know, one of the great mental challenges today arising from the same discussion about food is where people are afraid of how others will look at them, or how they will look at them, or what they'll think when they look at them. And this is something we don't talk about in today's society. Many people are quiet. You would see on social media, someone would post up a picture, and people would begin to shout, ina maninga yondeko. You should start doing exercises. Or the other extreme where you see everyone wants to become a model, wants to have a slim body, muntu is suffocating themselves. Not but Amanda and wanting to cope up with what the public wants, which is also dangerous. And you know, if there's no addressing or discussing or talking about these issues, they end up leading people to even commit suicide, to say, this is how people look at me. Meanwhile, because there are circumstances. So this category of people, they also come out, and there's this background, and it is my cry to say, as society, like, Madam Mercy said there, we are the society because we live in society and we make up society. Maybe if we can begin to talk about this reality to do with food, because some people think if I don't eat, that's when I'll look nice. But it has to do with the mind and how one's way of life is. There are people that think akuja monje ni mankuku lyonse ni nkoko inama imbushi ngombe, this kind of thinking. But at the end of the day, it's all about balancing, and this fear has to be done now. Inkumba brother poko misabi kabis from Jansomba soli.
So brother, what I'm seeing in what we're explaining are the two realities of the physical body and the spiritual body, and both have to be taken care of. That is I think what you are trying to put across, that the spiritual aspect can also be impoverished much as also the physical body can be.
Yeah.
So we need to balance. Yeah?
Very much.
So now when you talk about people should be not staying away from the Eucharist whenever they attend Mass, I'm afraid maybe some people can be type of parish, especially Parimamasi attack. Are we not going to see a situation Mass ya sira muntu achoka cheno bwerera mafuta ati nifuna
Nkaleri
dynamics
compensation.
Is it allowed on Kamoze?
Basically, when you approach this from the eyes of the canon law of the church, what does the church guide us regarding the Eucharistic celebration? To attend one Mass is enough for a Christian, and to receive the Eucharist in that Mass, it's also enough. Now, there comes an abuse and an exaggeration, just like our brothers and sisters, if we reach the level of, sinamvesese maningi wamili umasi yerosi bazani pasa yenzoneka ingono body of Christ
ora manje apa kwa bura wa fedha beni konda so no
amen. Now like that it is a challenge, because we would not be giving each other chance. We are coming from communities where we are many parishioners, and if in each Mass unkalamo there also might be chances they're reducing space for others. And then again, I feel like because we need to attend Mass, and that's one Mass per day. Unless you are the presider or the priest, now you manje, or you I have no option, I'm the one who's celebrating this Mass with my people. That's a different situation. But in a situation where I have prayed, I have attended Mass, I have received the Eucharist, it is enough. Because
so it's wrong.
the reason is why mbwereram. You see, now we need to address why sinina VSS. Did you come late? Were you not paying attention? Did you prepare before going for Mass? Because the challenge is as Catholics, you don't know what's happening, you don't know where the readings are coming from. Meanwhile, it is ongoing. And those are the people, ask them, how was Mass? What was that? They won't even know. They will be happy when but they won't remember anything. That's the danger that's there. But if we are prepared, there will be no need for Mass next. In fact, where such people even miss it, in every Mass, at the conclusion, we are told the Mass is ended. Go forth and love one another. It's a mission. You go and love one another. We have such people like you are saying. Amani ofya nkalani basheme naye mu kazinkala ko pa church zuba ya choka zuba yangena saka sebenza litinga tili pa church from morning till evening kupempera sibalesa, but you pray and you put to effect the prayers. David jamanje muntu kumupempera we are praying from midnight to midnight kumlako muntu amafanika gona ko tupuzi you regain consciousness and then you pray na mulunga maona ako my type very dangerous.
Brother Nangai, Masi yamenya manga pena no. Kuli Masi y'abakulu benyi nemizona gift y'abaoli nona nima bashikanize buno Masi y'abaoli siwa mama manini so nangi ndire niziba nzange na mulije mwene nama mungati cheveni ndini maona baoli nikazionesa always there's this
yes
ufuna olangiza abantu niche wakaere sinasokoneze vili vonse so silingaenda olandira since ni mumasi y'abakulu nalandira sida y'abakulu endani mubwera y'abaoli ndinanimeka
kungenamo namame
kungenamo maifika tinaende mukulandira baoli futi bazaona ibe pale ntu watu role model
salandira
futi very bwanji it's allowed.
I would say it's allowed, but we need to put it in context. You know, uyu muntu ni animeta waba holy childhood. When we're talking about our holy childhood, we're talking about a selection of human beings or society that is learning very fast and learning by observation. So they know this is our animeta, and our animeta always tells us when you start receiving the Eucharist, then you can be receiving in that mass which is theirs. And then for them, they know to say, if this one alandira mkulu, then they have that assurance, it is okay, it is safe, and they are calm. Now, bagawananimeta ndio sunalandira, nsemu mumasi mwabwera, wabambo bashita consecrate, all the wanalandireko, I've just consecrated for you, landirani ndimwe. Bambo dia bwanji. So now, for the sake of the faith of the children, and they are learning, that animator has to receive the Eucharist. Now, there is this preparation. This animator Bakambakuti has to attend mass for adults moja to receive the Eucharist to pray mushe chabe. There's nothing wrong there. Wapempela, you've prayed, everything you've done. Now, in that mass for the children, in as much as they're praying, the role is to help the children to pray. We shouldn't forget that aspect. Now, one of the contexts I would love to bring forth in the first mass mwebangena babantu is akaendo pempela uja muntu nokambati ngati sinalandire, if I do not receive the Eucharist, bantu wazani wanelamu, they will have this perception. You know, this is one of the struggles we have as Catholics today, where if someone does not receive the Eucharist in Mass, we begin to make postulations. Balanspesa kuma sacrament. You know, this understanding. But what we don't realize that, in as much as it is not normal for someone to come for Mass and not receive, of course, that I should mark, that's not normal. Why is it not normal? If you know I have sinned, if you know I have issues that are barring me from participating in communion in the Mass, you prepare before Mass. As the priest is that someone has to do confession. These are situations that can be worked upon. You say, and then someone is not receiving. You start giving people pressure. Why is that? You know all these things. Also, it's not our business why you munsanarandire. Ni uyu muntu na Kristo wake. Isikuti ndise tiri mukaristiya tikazifunza why so marandira ukaristiya.
Brother, first the last talk we had, we initiate people, we play a part. So lo hapa maichinja branje. Manje why salandira tambo questioning futi ya chinja, it's not our.
You see now the problem is the type of questioning yetiri na yeve sevantu. Semutaenda kumasi. Nobero pesa brother sanarandire. Brother why sunarandire? Brother ngenarete mumasi. Mufunarandire bwana sana zikonzesi.
No, he has to tell us why.
Manje maiona. Hey, now these are circumstances, meaning everyone can end up in a circumstance where we don't receive the Eucharist. Because it's not just receiving chifukwa, it's receiving. It's about preparation, being in the right disposition to receive. Now, also here, no wonder I said pali context. The danger, two extremes ngati muyamvera. The Eucharist is not food for perfect Christians. We should mark that. It's not food for perfect Christians. The Eucharist is for us sinners, food for us sinners. But we need to prepare ourselves, disposition before receiving the Eucharist. Me, I see a great tendency in the church. We don't like the sacrament of penance. We run away.
Like, I'm telling you. I'm
Serious?
being honest.
You know, Holy Mother Church provides, if you tell us you don't have time, attend that Mass, receive the Eucharist, but immediately make an effort to see the priest and receive the sacrament of reconciliation. Yes.
The priest always there.
Now, that is where now...
So the Holy Child is following, Father, nine, bambo. So, what's
But, you know, that's a different circumstance. Because in our region, we're having many Masses. But the priest is never busy 24/7, whereby there will be no room for confession. At least that I would disagree. Or kuti want to me that bambo kuno I came from us. I really need to do the sacrament of penance. Because it's not him who's pardoning those sins, but it has to be available as a medium. I agree, Pamankala pressure. Jumping from one mass to the next is not easy. But meanwhile, you have to go in the next mass. And no complain, you know, as people talking won't end. But there is this that we have to bear in mind as parish. And I believe each parish has accommodated in their pastoral program time for confessions. Or kuti mwabali njira cha bama bora ku office hours antu mpako ene sangakana abo bakakana but nishikaya manje.
Manje hapo kainishwa miss.
Now when you put the context of Kunchito
office hours ya
but esikuti amankalirira Kunchito nishapo pamese manje munusa twamaenda Kunchito vakaenda nishvaenderera.
My office hours.
My offices yasiyana kusiyana kwa my office.
Can I go for confession outside office hours?
That now, but though you make an arrangement. You know, come on, Kalaban, very logical. I only work from 8 to 12, from 14 to 17. Anything away from this arrangement, I'm busy. I respect such people, but there is what we call pastoral prudence, where Holy Mother Church advises for the sake of the soul of the Christian you attended to. Bakaona, you know, there are situations where you are working late hours. It's very true. That's why in other parishes you find confessions are done in the night. A priest would be available in the church to attend to people. You know, Zambia, these kind of extremes. But arrangements are made. You communicate to say, no, for me, I cannot manage within those hours. I'm kindly asking. And if people are serious about their faith, and there are many parishes around, it's not also just about the home parish. There's a nearby parish to where you're working from, and you know, kuna lunch break these hours. Even that arrangement can be made. Muntoche serious. Or you tell your parish priest, that's his responsibility. Father, me, I'm not managing. This is my situation. He will provide. I'm telling you an alternative, and I can assure you. When you know, they are busy. But then they have to receive the sacrament of reconciliation. You see?
So, brother, yeah, I get the point that if people are serious, it also means being serious means also knowing your faith. Yeah, and also growth in your faith. The example you've given, confession of parish. The level of our understanding here of our faith and everything comes into question because to an extent, like you are saying, Babambo Vazawa Mania. Bazamba cheko bakamba vinanga vimesi vinanga as a result kulifutiwa jawena ngwamene bakali very immature in their faith. Ine manje babambo ndivyo vanombochita nzochitisa confession ati bandani tawo yasova Mrs. Chitenia ile na vile kachena church waiona ndiye ku extend kwa mine yenda. So I think we still need to grow more in our faith.
Very strong.
And even as we are pushing, you know, time, shani, sometimes we only try to find excuses for not doing what we are supposed to do. And the question of saying, Wambiri stick on that chapiro. The right way, I think, terminology is Tima yopa kwenda kuchilapiro. You see? So I will find that even parish, some people, I don't know how true this is, but I've heard that the best confession you can be doing is to go to a priest who knows you. I don't know whether that is correct or what. But bantu chikonda mukaona babambo wanyowani parish, beba bwache kutandala. Chance
line
kwa mene then uzapeza ati babambo bene wake wapaparishi wangu embekeza banje bafadha wanzao basi hizi we don't want to our own parish priest who is the pastor of our souls.
For sure.
So I don't, but nimanta not stick on the chilapi
Timaf never knew one.
So that kaidi parish priest vakumpitana organiza
so abamba vaona monga tinde kwena choka kuja
aona paungaizana choka kuchirapira enzeri wa last palaini isira che confession muja kuvasiya kuipa vabambo vati venzoendera kumozi vabambo vanamboita imirira manje mbwera mucheza apa that maybe conversation is jonga funi yamba
mofu wese
but futhi monga padisha confession kwenze situation about chikap yes somewhere in Chilanga where parishioner started complaining to say inelima mbela monga ngati nachuka kuchida period then wabamba ngela mass wamalalika pali vena chukula maona so that brought in bantu kuleka kuenda confession. They were feeling like a priest very much preach pali vamene wachuko chita confess. They were like bambo zanchita attack kucheka cha confession fika cho msaziba sakonda chigololo. But meanwhile we don't know that these people, they already prepare these things that they're supposed to come and teach us. So kapena bambo machira mwamene kuti vena ngwasakabe na bebe.
I think I've also heard such things, and they I think there is if it's just in the archdiocese here or everywhere else, there's a pastoral directive that was given in some of the parishes that confession should not be done on Sunday unless otherwise, because that complaint have been heard several times, that Christians complain that no father after confessing even so kamba pali. So you find some priests actually say per Sunday no confession. When you go by or per church wanalemba ma confession, rarely will you find Sunday listed as a day of confession, but Saturday. Yeah. Now namadezi yana ngumu week. It's because of that. Unless maybe afterwards mama says yasira, then maybe muzuba you go, you ask for confession. Or if it's on Sunday, my father was akufunza. Have you already attended mass? Yes. Or you haven't, wazakuza. Go like the exemption that Brother Felix said. Go in the mass because of your disposition is already that you want to confess. Remember those 5 stages of going for confession, where there's one where you have to confess on your own. Yeah? And when I was doing catechism, if I remember too well, I don't want to mislead people. I told you, of the 5 stages, the one of confessing on your own is key. But it is not a standalone. You confess on your own. After you've confessed on your own, then you go to Father to go and confess now. And then when you go to Father again, you confess. Again, it's not ended. You have to do the we call it what?
The penance.
The penance that Father would ask you to do. Then the process of confession has ended. But confessing on your own is critical, because it's the one that brings in your disposition. Apart from your willingness to say, okay, this sin has made me a slave. Why should? Because that is what I think what we should understand about sin, that it enslaves us. You see, we are children of God, but then we rebel by sin. So just casting out take. Mulungu ali apati embekeza mwana wanga azabwera liti, then ife tapitiliza chekufidinga maswine. You see, and then when we come back we realize, oh, I did this wrong. Look at how I'm suffering. From the parable of the merciful father, yeah, then we realize, and the young child, we realize we are wrong. Then we come back, already the disposition here right here. So fathers have time and again told people, okay, mass, since you're already here, you want to confess, means you've already confessed. Now you just want to finish the process of confession with the absolution. So you go for mass, go, you receive, then you come back. It has happened. I say again with me.
Like you said, you know, what is also key there, firstly, before the mass begins, we know what time mass begins, but at times as people, my pressure points, you know, mass is about to begin. And confession. You know very well the programming. In fact, I even appreciate when it was guided to say no confessions before mass. Actually, that should even be the norm, because we would feel aggrieved as people. The message of that day would be stop doing this. Let's convert from this way of life. Now, it's not that the priest would go and preach about you in that context. Trust me, the priests have heard a lot of things. That much I doubt. And you know, there's a catch that comes with a priest revealing what happens in the sacrament of penance or confession. He gets to be excommunicated. He loses his priesthood there and then. Now, are you telling me the whole lot of the priest would be willing to lose his priesthood for the sake of just one sin of one person? I believe maybe that's up to each one to answer. But then Holy Mother Church also provides the seal of confession, where what is discussed there ends there. And that's a good part about it, actually. And you know how interesting it can be. Me, in fact, I encourage to go for confession to someone who knows you, because that way the kind of accompaniment is much easier. This person knows you, and they can journey with you spiritually. And the interesting thing, very, very interesting thing, is that they won't say anything about that. They can't. They have no platform to say, hey, you wave. You see? And some of it, I like this part. That you've gone for confession. Free-minded. Why are you not cannot start a conversation. You know how sweet it is when it's like you block someone from speaking, but you're together. They won't say anything, but they know. And eventually, it fades from their mind. I don't think they hold. You know, they celebrate a sacrament of penance every now and then. I don't believe they would hold on. It's like what we've shared as individuals. We have many friends whom we've had conversations with. Takambaso. Some of them we hardly even remember. From morning, from the people that you've had conversations with, how much of the content can you remember? You see that kind of a thing. But this sacrament is there and has all these demarcations, and in this context, usually it's what we're afraid of. But that's where even the courage should come from. It's much easier. You know, when a patient goes to a doctor, that's what doctor. What's the problem? How they? I'm not feeling well. We want to know if we know Ebola not feeling well, but we want to know that not feeling well in what it is being translated to, and how much help or remedy can be provided. It's like people that go for the sacrament of confession, instead of kukamba have committed murder or abortion. That's it's that kind of thing. We are afraid. I acknowledge the fact that whenever we sin, there is that sorrow, because the moment we sin, our eyes are opened. Then we say, what's that? But the moment we are seeing in the process, but we are aware of what is happening. So you're not the first one and you're not the last one. But what is important is the individual, so muntukulapa and to receive absolution. The first part of this sacrament, like Vasido said, where there has to be muntazichtra confess, which is contrition. There has to be muntu that sorrow to come kuti komanala kwa zona na vena chita it just if and go boys up, you know. There has to be this contrition, and it has to come from mundu. There are two types of contrition. They will go for confession because that's the apanzaf. Even kafana chimo isiza imyanga even kulibepo andu kumwamba. You know, that kind of a thing. That is imperfect contrition, because what should motivate someone to go is that sorrow for having had sinned. My one. I need that as people sometimes we don't want your process. I've had people share experiences where, and this is again the other challenge. Someone goes for this sacrament. Me know you're forgetting. You went for confession. And then people start sharing this. These are not even meant to be shared. I wanted to give a crucial example, but I will leave it like that. So it's one of the extremes that come, because there's people who easily want to share what should be kept confidential. And at the end of the day, ababambo banayindo kamba serious. Ababambo banayindo kandi.
Waibara tunauza. That's why I didn't madabo ngo bantu amakambati uni best friend wangu. Up to this stage, I still say I don't have my best friend. I just have friends.
Okay.
Maybe we don't
Because you know
understand what a best
You
friend
know
means.
what? Me, the way I look at it, when people start saying my best friend, the person you are saying my best friend, you don't even fully understand kuti nanga eve mind mwake na mutima mwake best friend wake ni uti ndiwo wamene wena ukema the best friend wanga uyu because me I'll tell this to Messi niza nyamuka lero nizaenda nzapeza na wina yangu muntu mvela Messi and you can't restrict people saenda kuuza uyu whatever people naturally they just like sharing stories. What more as Africans? We are storytellers by nature. So,
for sure.
We are indeed storytellers by nature, and it looks like we are going to have an endless conversation here, but we do not have time. And every time brother is here, we will not, we will not even tell you brother to say your last words or encourage us because I think Stina Sirizi is saying kind.
It's better if Sirizi are no last words, but brother should say something.
Just you will not come. If you say your last words, are you still going to come?
On this discussion.
Okay, brother, are you going to come even after you say your conclusion?
Of the sacrament of reconciliation.
But how is he going to conclude when we're not yet done?
We're not. He needs to come back so that we finish. Obviously, we need to do a part 2 because it's got to understand yes, and if it's me and Grace, I know now Grace is still and
same WhatsApp group.
Yes. So what about our dear viewers? So unfortunately, we will not ask our brother to say his last words, but we have come to an end of part 1. So our dear viewers, this is all we had for you today. Until next time, it's bye-bye. We went